Hey, kia ora, Helen Brahms here, coming to you live from Fayetteville, Arkansas. Hope you've all had a super fantastic sparkling day. It has been an awesome day today. But first, before I get to that, how did you do with your challenges? How was your mindset challenge? Remember, today was all about Tune-Up Tuesday. So were you able to set your mindset to focusing, that's right, that's what we were talking about, wasn't it? Yes, focusing. Were you able to read, watch, or listen to something new that helped you help activate your brain into a focusing mindset? Were you able to do some physical activity where afterwards, something like a 20-minute walk, where afterwards your brain is in that active stage of focus? And did you remember to take short breaks during the day to break up your day and to go do some stretching, go for a walk, have a break completely? Like I go do breaks from the computer. I go play with the dog. Zephyr. It's got to the point now where when I just move, Zephy's like, oh, okay, what are we doing? And she's like looking all around, what are we doing? So those are my breaks, and it's playing with her. It's like throwing a ball. It could be just wrestling with her. It could just be getting some hugs and kisses from her. I like those ones the best. But when she sees me and she thinks I'm going to give her a hug, she lays down on the ground, rolls over onto her back, because she knows it's harder to pick her up when she's on her back than when she's crouched down on her front or sitting. On your business side, did you have a look at those goals? Are you stretching, just putting those goals just out of reach? So you got to stretch there and get there. And because if you don't stretch your goals, you get too comfortable, you get complacent. Things start breaking down because you're not following the processes, you're not being aware of them, because you think that, oh yeah, everything's going along fine. You know, it doesn't matter. It matters. And then on the fun one, how did you do getting up and dancing a bit to the 50s, singing along to songs from the 50s? I had a blast today listening to some tunes from the 50s. I had my playlist there and I just let it go. And during some of the break times today, it was getting up and dancing to those and getting Zephy to dance as well. She's getting to be a good dancer. I'm going to have to see if I can find a way to capture it on video one day. If she decides to cooperate, that's the key, getting her to cooperate with dancing. But yeah, we had some fun dancing to some 50 tunes today, and kind of inspired to watch Top Gun tonight, because Great Balls of Fire is one of my favorite ones. And so who knows, maybe we'll watch Top Gun tonight, or maybe we'll watch what was it, what was the other one? There was another one that we came up with, I can't remember now. So how did you do with those? Today was I had my accountability call for Think and Grow Rich, which we didn't get to yesterday because I was 2 hours late because of my fault of putting into my calendar 2 p.m. Central, but putting it in as 2 p.m. Pacific into my calendar. And so the thing is that my laptop is on Pacific time because it's just too hard to comprehend half the time. And most of the meetings I have are with people on the West Coast, so I'm having to put them in Pacific time anyway. So I just thought, well, I'll just keep the laptop in Pacific time. My phone switches it to whatever time zone I'm in, which is great because all the little reminders go off when they need to. And so I don't have to worry about that. But when I put this meeting in, she told me 2 p.m. Central, and I put it in as 2 p.m. Pacific. But we got to catch up today. We got to do our revision, and the chapter we did today was chapter 6, all about imagination. And it was quite interesting because, when you think about it, people go, oh, I can't imagine things. I'm not creative. And I'm like, well, how did you come up with the idea of going into business? How did you come up with this particular product for your business? And they're sort of like, oh. I said, did you not have some thought process into that? They go, yeah. I said, that's imagination and creativity. And they're sort of like, oh. So it sometimes, people just think about things. How did you get to this point in your business? How did you get to this point in your life? What steps brought you to this thing? If you're in business and you're releasing a new product, how did you come up with that idea? Did somebody else bring you the idea? But then you're doing the marketing concept when you're doing marketing. That's all about creativity and imagination. Think about that next time you think that you are not creative. So here's something that I do if I want to recharge, because in this chapter it talks about your imagination, that the more you use it, the more creativity and imagination that the more your imagination is easier to use, so that it's like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. So the more you use your imagination, the stronger it gets. The less you use it, the weaker it gets. So sometimes I was sharing some ideas with my accountability partner on some things I do to help keep my brain sharp and in that creative state. I am predominantly right-handed, but I have taught myself to use my left hand. So there are some things that I now automatically do left-handed, and I taught myself to write left-handed. When I was 11 years old, so I'm now 53, sorry, I'm 53, I'm aging myself already. Won't be 54 till December. So I'm 53. When I was 11, so you can do the math how many years ago it was, the teacher in the classroom next to me broke their right wrist, their right hand, and had the big old plaster cast on there. Wasn't able to write on the blackboard, so had to use his left hand. He had to learn to write left-handed in front of his classroom while he was teaching. And I saw the struggle that he was having, and I vowed and declared that would never happen to me. And so I started at that point when I was 11 years old, already predicting the future, that I was not going to have that issue. I started teaching myself to use my left hand. There are times when I have a specific set of cryptic puzzles and crossword books that I absolutely love. They're done by an Australian woman called Christine Lovett. I can't get them here in the States unless I get them shipped from Australia, but when I go home to New Zealand I stock up on my cryptic crosswords and my other crossword books, because I absolutely love her crossword books. And in her books she has the left-handers crossword puzzles, so I always do those ones with my left hand. And with word searches, this is really cool. Now with word searches, they're on both sides of the pages. So the ones on the left hand side I use my left hand, the ones on the right hand side I use my right hand. But if you've got those books where the words are on the left hand page and the puzzles on the right hand page, you really want to get creative with that. Turn it upside down so the puzzle is now on the left hand page and the words are on the right hand page, all upside down. Now go and do your word search. Throw a little bit of a challenge in there, a little bit of a twist. So take your word search, turn it upside down, and now complete the puzzle with your left hand while reading the words upside down, back to front, and everything else. And you'll find very quickly that it'll engage your creativity muscles, which will then engage the imagination. So it's all about finding ways to challenge your brain so that and coming up with creative ways to do things so that your imagination will kick into play. It's exercising that imagination muscle. A lot of fun with that. I love doing that. And every now and again I will pick up my pen and write left-handed instead of right-handed, just to keep in practice. It still looks like chicken scratch after all these years, but it's legible. And the times that I can't use my right hand because of a condition I have in my right hand when it flares up, and I can't hold a pen, I have to switch to my left hand anyway. So that's just some things. So that was my accountability call today. Sorry, got a fly buzzing me. Then I had a pre-workshop call. I start a new workshop tomorrow on how to give interviews and how to be interviewed. So that's going to be kind of cool. So I had the pre-call with one of the instructors today, and it's going to be amazing. I'm looking forward to the next 12 weeks in this class, and it's going to be absolutely amazing. So we're talking about my businesses, talking about what I want to accomplish out of this, and I am super, super excited. So we start the workshop tomorrow morning, and I can't wait. So it's an hour of teaching, then we get our homework assignment that we have to post into the Facebook group for critiquing and everything else, and then so each week we have the workshop, and then we're given our assignment, which we have to post into the private Facebook group that we have, and it gets critiqued. So it's really exciting. I'm so looking forward to that. And then I was doing some more genealogy research today and having a blast with that. And I love going and searching for stuff through old newspapers. A lot of them are now online, but reading stuff from back in like 1873. I was reading on the the Otago Daily Times in New Zealand from the 2nd of August 1873, and I was reading about a distant relative who got fined 20 shillings for the use of improper language back in 1873. And this is a female. And the reason that she was, I found out in another article, the reason that she was using the offensive language was because her husband was beating her up. But back in those days, you didn't have the spousal abuse stuff. And so she was being abused by her husband, and so she was cursing him, and she got arrested and fined 20 shillings for doing that. But in the same article under improper language, it has, and this one just cracks me up, a character named Jane Monson, who is an intolerable nuisance in the neighborhood where she resides. An intolerable nuisance. I thought, well, that's an interesting thing to write in a newspaper article. And I couldn't make out the word because it's a little funny, but basically fined a penalty of 10 shillings for using abusive and obscene language. So that was back in August of 1873, that somebody was described in the newspaper as an intolerable nuisance in the neighborhood where she resides. The stuff they used to write back then. And then there was another article of a possible relative, relative. So in genealogy, quick tip in here. So in genealogy, you have three phases: ancestors, descendants, and relatives. Ancestors are those in your direct line. So parents, grandparents going straight, great-grandparents going straight back. Descendants are those that descend from you. So children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, etc. going down. Relatives are the sides. They're the siblings, the aunts, the uncles, the cousins. So those are the three main terms: your ancestors, descendants, and relatives, and those are the differences between the two. So a possible distant relative, I was researching today, and it said there that these people had their son and daughter-in-law staying with them, but prior to moving into their house in Hunterville, and they had just been visiting relatives in Paikokariki and Wellington. And I'm like, really? And then there was another one about people who had been admitted into hospital and why they had been admitted. And there was one distant relative there who seemed to end up in hospital a lot, falling over and breaking his leg. And that was after he'd been a couple of years beforehand been knocked over by a motorcycle and ended up with concussion and admitted into hospital. Then there were so they even have, this person had these people come to stay with them, and now they're going on to this place, or these people got discharged from hospital and they're heading home to and it had their addresses listed there in the paper. Like when this distant relative got knocked over by the motorcycle, it had his address there. And then when 2 years later, when he fell over and broke his leg, and his address was listed there. So everybody knew where everybody lived, and everybody was in everybody's business. It was real gossip magazines. I mean, the newspapers were real gossip things. So it was kind of interesting for just reading through some of these articles. And this is from, the 1870s, the 1850s, through to the 1950s. The 1950s, because these newspapers in New Zealand that I've been researching today go through to December 31st, 1950. So all the way through, you've got all these people who are having their lives put in the newspaper for whatever reason. But one of the really cool ones I came across was my grandfather's first cousin was a corporal in World War II and was killed in action. And they had this beautiful obituary written about him, his wife, his 2 children, about all the stuff he did in his community and everything else. And because he was an officer, because of the type of officer he wasn't allowed to go overseas because he was married with kids. So he resigned his commission and enlisted as an enlisted person so he could go overseas, because he wanted to go overseas and he wanted to fight, and he actually was killed in action in Italy. So it was very interesting to read that he'd done all this community service and everything else, resigned his military commission so he could become an enlisted man and now go and fight overseas. So that was kind of interesting to go and read stuff like that. And then there was all these different articles from different organizations he was involved with that were basically having their own obituaries about this person. So it's been very interesting reading this afternoon and coming across all this great information, and it's so much fun. So that's it from me for today, I think. Yes, I think that was it. Yep, that's it. Read my notes. And so I hope you all had a super fantastic sparkling day. I'm going to go do some more research because there's some really cool stuff in these newspapers, and digging through all the relatives' information and everything else is kind of fun. So I'm actually doing some more research on my tree, and I got a couple of possible clients for their for doing research, which I've got appointments set up, so I can't wait to talk with them and get started on their research for them. So that's going to be absolutely awesome. So get some new clients going and all of that. So I'm keeping my hand keeping my hand in the research and stuff by going and doing digging deeper into my family tree and adding more information in there, because there's always stuff being put online at all times. New records are being uploaded, being put into the digital world, so it makes it easier to research some stuff. But then there's a lot of stuff out there as well that, even though it's digital, it could look like somebody who fits in your family tree. You still have to research to go, is that the exact person that's going to fit in that tree, and where do they fit? So it's been it's always interesting. I love it. It's fun. It fires me up and gets me excited, and I don't have any problems with the brain going to sleep on this one. Trust me, because there's always really cool stuff to go and watch. But anyway, I'm out of here for today. Have a super fantastic sparkling evening. We'll catch you guys tomorrow morning with your challenges of the day. Hei konera!